Welcome to Nerdy and Flirty, a podcast designed to help you create a life that you love. It's nerdy with science-packed information, and it's flirty. It's fun, it's quick, it's straight to the point. My name is Cass. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. This week's episode is all about our financial health, which is part of the Back to Wellness series where I'm taking you through every dimension of wellness. So far, we've covered physical health, social health, spiritual health, intellectual health, and emotional health, and now we're on to our financial health. You probably noticed that there was no episode last week, and I have a story to tell you about that because now it makes total sense, but initially I was feeling all kinds of ways. So if you follow the Instagram, you know that I posted this on my story just talking about how I couldn't get myself to post this episode. I recorded this whole episode 2 weeks ago. I was so excited about it. I was so ready to put it out there. And when it came time for me to edit it, I just could not get myself to post it. I kept feeling so weird about it. And it wasn't the information. It wasn't what I was saying. It was just this feeling I had. And I was like, I've never missed an episode and I'm gonna miss an episode because for some reason I'm feeling so weird about this episode. I wasn't feeling confident about it. I wasn't feeling ready to put it out there. And now 2 weeks later, it makes complete sense why. I'm a big believer in signs. I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason, the way that they're supposed to. And that is exactly what happened to me today. So I started going to church. And if you listen to my spiritual health episode, that was before I started going again. You should definitely listen to that because I believe that no matter what your religion or your spiritual practice is, everyone needs a spiritual health practice. It can be meditation, it can be yoga, it can be all kinds of things. But for me, I'm exploring my own spiritual health. I'm on my own spirituality journey, just like we all are. And recently I decided to give church a try again. I grew up Catholic. I've been going to a non-denominational church, just trying to figure it out. It's a journey that I'm doing for myself. It's one that I'll probably mention on the podcast, but it's not going to be, this whole podcast is going to be about that because that's not what this podcast is. But long story short, I've been going on Sundays and it's been a really nice ritual or routine for me to go. The pastor that I am going to is really real and talks about real life examples and real life things and makes it very relatable. So far I'm liking it. But like I said, I just started this journey on my own. So I'm doing it. I'm still figuring it out. The last time that I went to this church, the pastor said so many things that hit me. Like it felt like he was speaking directly to me. And I was like, I need to start bringing a notebook to these sessions because there were so many things that he said that I was like, wait, I should share this on the podcast. I should share this with my friends. I should share this with people because the little phrases he was saying, they apply to anyone, whether you go to church or not. They were really hitting me. They were really strong. They were really good phrases. And today I brought this notebook and I was like, I really hope he says something that I can say in the podcast today because I knew today I was going to church and recording this episode. And I was like, I know he's going to say something good that I can share on the podcast. And I was waiting for it. But I knew that this was the episode I was doing, which is financial health. And I was like, what are the odds that he talks about money? Like, he's probably not going to talk about money. Usually it's about relationships and your relationship with God and like different things like that. But I figured he would say something that would relate to just general life that I could throw in here, right? So we're sitting down, we're ready for him to come out. The pastor comes out and he's like, so today I have a really good talk prepared. It's something that I only talk about once a year. He's like, if you've never been here before and today's the day that you showed up, you probably showed up on one of the most important days because I only talk about it once a year and it's one of my favorite things to talk about. And so now I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh, I came on the best week. I just started coming and I get to hear this amazing thing. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? And he's like, today we're talking all about money. My jaw dropped. I turned to my friend next to me and I was like, this is so crazy because I am doing a podcast about money today. And I was really hoping that he was going to say something I could share. And then it turns out that his entire talk today was about money. Like, what are the odds? First of all, I grew up extremely Catholic. I have never, ever heard a priest talk about money unless it was, make sure you guys donate, right? So the fact that I went to church and they were talking about real life finances and real life things, that's cool to me. That's really cool because you can't just separate it. Like, the reality is that money makes this world go round and we all rely on money. We all need money to live. But your relationship with money matters. The relationship that you have with your money changes your entire lifestyle because money is powerful. We let money be so powerful in our lives, and the relationship that you have with it really matters. You could compare someone that one person lives in complete lack, scarcity mindset, never feels like they have enough, always penny pinching, always holding on to everything, not giving anything, trying to take, and compare that lifestyle to someone who is constantly giving, lives in an abundance mindset, believes that everything's going to come back to them. Those two people will live completely different lives, even if they have the same amount of money in the bank. It really does not matter the number. It matters how you view that money and how much power that money has over your life. I know people that are very well off and have great paying jobs, beautiful houses, and they're the first ones to split up the check when you go out to eat. By itemized bill, ask for separate checks. Oh, I only got water and they got a $2 soda, so make sure that that's separate, right? We all know a person like that or a few people like that. And then I know people on the complete opposite side that don't make a lot of money, that have no money, that don't have the family inheritance, and they're the first ones to generously treat someone to a meal or donate to someone or give someone a thoughtful gift. They're the first ones to do that. And so it doesn't really matter the number that's in your bank account. Of course, it matters to some extent because it gives you access to things. It gives you access to material things. But it's exactly that. It's material. It's possessions. It's things. It's houses. It's cars. It's all these things. And of course, those are nice to have. But the reality is, when you die, you don't take any of it with you. And it doesn't really matter at the end of our lives. And the older people that I know that are towards the end of their life, they don't care about the stuff they have. They don't look back and say, wow, I made so much money in my life. They talk about their relationships. They talk about the experiences they had, the trips they've been on, the people they've met, the things they've seen. They don't care about what's in their house or what's parked in their driveway. And for most people, we spend our whole lives working and caring about money and caring about material things. And it's not until we reach that point of the end of our lives where we look back and say, none of that mattered as much as I thought it did. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live my life like that and then look back and say, geez, I did all these things focused on money, and in the end, it didn't even matter. So let's think about it now. No matter what age you're at right now, I want you to think about that. What really matters in your life outside of finances? And we're going to get into the finances. I'm going to give you some tangible tips. But the mindset and the relationship you have with money matters way more than the amount of money you have and the budgeting techniques that you do. Today at church, the pastor said something that I really liked that applies to anyone, whether you're religious or not. He was talking about generosity, and he was talking about giving no matter how much you have. It doesn't matter if you are the highest paid or the lowest paid. Everyone should be giving at least a little bit. And he talked about 10%, and that's a big thing in religion, but even just giving in general and being generous. And he told this story of when he was a kid, and he told his parents who were teaching him about giving 10% back. And he said to his parents, like, I don't even make that much money. I can't afford to give right now. I don't have enough to give. And he said that his dad replied with, if you don't give when you have nothing, you'll never give when you have everything. And that is so, so true. We can all think of people we know that have quote unquote everything. They have the beautiful house, they have the beautiful car, they have everything, good paying jobs, and they're the first ones to penny pinch. They're the first ones to split the check up by every single item and be stingy and not be generous. If you have that lacking mindset when you have nothing, even when you have everything, you'll still have that mindset. That's what that means. That's what that saying means. At least that's how I interpret it. If you're constantly thinking, oh, I need to hold on to everything, you're never going to give when you have more because you're constantly going to think that. Money is emotional. That is why money has so much power, because we're constantly responding to our emotions. Our emotions tell us we need to do something, and a lot of us have a really hard time saying no to our emotions. But sometimes we need to. Sometimes that emotional response that money has on us, whether it's greed or selfishness or whatever it is, sometimes we need to say no to that. In fact, we usually should say no to that. That's not a good emotion to follow. Our emotions aren't always rational. They're not always right. But we have a hard time saying no to them because it feels so big. It feels so important. It feels so real. There was another thing I heard this morning that I really liked, and that was take a look at your bank statement and you'll see where your heart is. And I put a star next to that, and I wrote on the next page, you'll see where your priorities are. Just look at your bank statement and you'll see what you're spending money on the most. And most of the time, it's self-serving things, or it's things that you don't really need. It's things that you just wanted for some reason. Maybe it was to keep up with the people next to you. Maybe it was to look a certain way that maybe you're not actually, to show a facade, to show that you're more important or more significant than you feel inside. A lot of us spend money on a lot of stupid things. And I think that's part of the reason that so many of us feel like we don't have enough money or we can't afford the things that we need. The same people that say they can't afford or invest in a course or a class that's going to better them are the same people that are spending money on random Amazon purchases just because it's trending right now. Now, I'm also not going to deny the fact that things are so expensive right now compared to past years. That's just facts. But I'm also going to be real with you and say that people have been living past their means forever, not just in recent years. You might not be able to control the housing market, the grocery store prices, whatever, but something we do have control over that a lot of people don't like to admit are Amazon purchases. Our need to fulfill this random desire that doesn't actually bring you long-term satisfaction. Sometimes our spending habits are just because we're bored or we don't have other things going on in our life. You guys know I'm a teacher, and the past summer I had my first summer off in years, and I had to have so much self-control to not just go shopping randomly because I was bored some days. That's why a lot of people say when they retire, they just get another job, because if not, you'll spend money. It is so easy to spend money when you don't have a lot going on or you're not fully satisfied in your life, you're not fully happy, because shopping's an addiction. It's a quick dopamine hit. It's no different than sugar, social media, all of those things are the same. They never lead to full fulfillment. They're just quick dopamine hits. And trust me, we're all guilty of it. Anyone who has Amazon on their phone is likely guilty of this, but this is something that you can control. You can control what you're spending, where you're spending it, and if you really need the things that you keep buying, because we live in a society now where we all just need these new trends. We're so quick to fall into these trends that don't even last very long, and we're buying things that last a few weeks tops that we spent money on that we're never going to use again. We end up donating it or throwing it out or giving it away. And it's just stupid spending. It's stupid. There are certain things that, of course, make sense to buy and things that you really enjoy, experiences. I'm all about that. But the first step to getting your finances in order is looking at where you're spending your money. And this is where we'll get into the more tips and tricks of the episode. So first things first, you have to know where your money is going. And one of my favorite things to do that I've been doing for years is tracking my spending. It's kind of like a budget, but not in the sense that it tells me, okay, you can only spend this much. It's more of just an inventory of where I'm spending my money and in what categories. A lot of apps and banks already do this for you, but honestly, I do it by hand because I like to see where my money is going and I categorize it myself, because to me, certain categories are non-negotiable and they're fine, and other categories, I'm not as okay with spending a lot of money in them, and I like to reflect on that and improve each month. I encourage you to make your own categories and see which categories are your non-negotiables. They're things that you're fine with spending day to day, month to month, and then compare it with your other categories that are more recreational, extra things, your passions, all of that. For me, I'm never gonna nickel and dime on groceries because I need groceries and I wanna eat healthy. I wanna have good food in my house. So for me, groceries is a non-negotiable that I don't even question. I just add it up. Some months are more than others, but it's not really a big deal to me. And then other things like gas, car payment, bills, all of those you need every month and you can't really waver on them. But then the other categories like my social life, going out to eat, takeout, shopping, travel, all of those things I try to watch a little bit more than my other categories because those I can control and I don't always need all of those things. If you've never done this before, I really recommend you track your expenses at least for 1 month just to get an estimate of where you're spending your money, because you would be surprised when you see that 40% of your income is going on takeout meals, and then you wonder why you can't afford experiences or extra things, classes, things that you really want to do. To me, it helps me know where my priorities are and what I actually value in life. There are things in my life that I want to do that I don't want to feel guilty for. Any kind of pottery class, art class, online course, those things I want to do. I want to take those. I value that. I like those things. But things like takeout meals or wasting money on alcohol and going out and social life, that's fun every now and then, but I don't want to see the majority of my income going to those things when I could be spending my money on things that I'm much more passionate about. And for me, I try not to make it like shameful or guilty. I don't really shame myself if I overspend in certain categories, but I do set goals for the following month to know like, okay, I spent a lot of money on shopping this past month. We don't need to shop anymore. We just spent all this, and then I improve from there. But this is definitely the first step to getting your finances in check, because a lot of us say we want to save more and do more and spend money on different things, but we can't afford it. But we don't even know where we're spending our money. One of the sneaky things that we all spend money on are these subscriptions. And I encourage you, take a look at your subscriptions. Do you have a bunch of TV subscriptions that you barely watch? Can you downsize any of them? Can you get a cheaper plan? Are you a student? Maybe get a student plan or just cancel them altogether. Do you really need to watch that show that badly? There are reality TV shows that everyone's talking about that I know I'm just gonna never see in my lifetime because I refuse to buy another TV subscription. I refuse. I don't need to see it that bad. I'll hear about it on Instagram or something. And that's just a personal preference. I'd rather spend my subscription money on Canva Pro or different things like that because I enjoy those things. And maybe you really enjoy TV and that's your little side thing. But it's important to know like, okay, this is my hobby and I want to spend money on this. It's fine to spend your money on things you enjoy, but it's not fine to blindly spend your money on things that you are barely using. They're not your passion. If you feel like you can't afford the things that you actually want to do. Personally, I would so much rather spend my money on an art class or an art subscription or something like that. And I like knowing that I can afford those things, but I can afford those things because I don't spend my money on random subscriptions. So do a little inventory or an overhaul of your subscriptions and really take a look and a deep dive on what you're spending money on month to month, year to year, and really ask yourself, do I need these things? Would I rather spend my money on something else? Maybe you want to get a better gym membership and you think you can't afford it, but here you're spending money on random TV subscriptions. Think about your priorities and look at where you're spending your money and adjust it from there. Your bank account should match your passions and what you actually enjoy outside of normal bills and things you need to survive. The next thing I want to talk about is maybe if you're wasting your money, and wasting your money in the sense of groceries and food shopping. So it's one thing to go grocery shopping, and like I told you guys, I am never going to feel bad about going grocery shopping. I'm going to buy what I want. I'm going to buy healthy things. I'm going to buy meats. I'm going to buy proteins, and all of that adds up. It's definitely expensive, but I need to eat food to survive, and I would rather spend my money on healthy ingredients than going out to takeout all the time, which is also very expensive. But here's the caveat to grocery shopping and buying things. You will waste more money if you are wasting food. It does not make sense to buy anything you want grocery shopping and go crazy shopping on Sunday, and then you waste the food by Wednesday. If you're spending your money on healthy foods and proteins and meats, that is awesome, but you better make sure you're not wasting it because you're throwing your money in the trash. I hate wasting food, and it is always so disheartening if I forget about a chicken or I forget about something that I have to throw away that I just wasted. I look at those chicken thighs and I'm like, that's $12 in the trash can. So make sure that you have a routine that works for you so that you're not wasting your food. I know everyone glamorizes the grocery shopping on Sunday, but that's a long time to have all of your groceries for 1 week. And I'm the first person to say that a lot of stuff happens throughout the week where you might not be sticking to your menu. You might not be cooking as much as you thought you did. And if you find that you're in that routine often, I suggest going grocery shopping more often for less things so that you're not wasting food. It doesn't make sense to buy all these peppers and onions and zucchini and fresh vegetables and meats if you're throwing half of it out on Saturday or Sunday. Plan your meals and be very realistic with yourself about the menu and what you're buying. Like I said, I go grocery shopping and I buy what I want, but I make sure I'm buying things that I'm actually going to use. And I'm not perfect. I've struggled with this before where I didn't cook as much as I thought, or I bought too much of something and then it goes bad. But make sure you're finding ways to either save it and freeze it. Be very mindful of it, especially when you're eating healthy. Food goes bad quick. So do not buy more than you are going to cook because you are going to hate yourself spending all this money on food and then you still end up getting Chinese takeout because all your food went bad. Another financial health tip that has worked for me and has worked for people that I know is not falling into the trends. And I know it's really hard because, like I've been saying, we live in this society where we care about how we appear, and social media has made that a thing. And just having things that make us look significant and look important, but you don't need all the trendy things. You don't need the latest thing. And Amazon makes it really easy for us to just buy these things on a whim. If you feel like you have a really hard time with Amazon, just delete it off of your phone. You can still keep your account. You can still keep your Amazon Prime, but go on the computer and buy the things. That has helped so much with lowering the chance of buying things on a whim, buying things on impulse. You can still go on the computer and buy it, but it's way less instant. And similarly, look at the things that you're buying and really think about if you can afford them. I know too many people that are so young, they're my age, and they have car payments that might as well be a mortgage payment or a rent payment. Don't be that person. Most of them regret it now. I bought a new car a couple months ago over the summer. It wasn't new, it was like certified pre-owned, and it was a big deal. It was my first car that was like a real nice car with CarPlay and leather seats, right? Before this, I had a car that I bought myself that I loved, but it was just like a cheap car that I bought when I was 16. And that was a big moment for me. But now I was like, you know what? It's time for me to buy a nicer, more reliable car. And when I bought this car, I was very specific about what my monthly payment was going to be, and I knew that I was not going to have a payment that was higher than this number. Because if I went above this, it's just too much money. Because I don't want to be working just to pay my car payment. I want to be able to also save for a house and save for other things and spend my money on things. I don't want to be working just to pay off my car payment and screw myself in the future because I have this crazy high car payment. But buying a car, buying a house, these things are emotional. And in the moment, you want the nicest thing. You want the thing that your friend has that you've seen on Instagram. You want these nice things. But if you can't afford it, you're setting yourself up for failure. When I bought my car, the guy selling me the car, we were having a conversation about it, and he was like, no, I know people that come in here, they have horrible interest rates, they have horrible credit scores, and they buy these cars, and their payment is $800, $900, $1,000. When they can't afford that monthly payment, they come back the next day asking if they can return their car because it's so much money and they realize what they did. And he's like, at this point, like, no, we can't help you. You just bought this car, whatever, there's nothing we can do. But that just shocks me. It might look like everyone around you has the fanciest, nicest things. Don't be fooled by it. A lot of people can't even afford the things that they have. A lot of people are in debt, or they're car poor, they're house poor, they're buying things that they can't necessarily afford comfortably, and they're regretting it, or they're just in debt in general. Don't feel like you need to have the latest, greatest thing. I know it's so tempting. There are times where I go on social media or wherever, and I see that people are living in these beautiful high-rise apartments with perfect granite countertops and all white cabinets and the perfect dream with the Range Rover. I'm guilty of it too. I look at them and I'm like, wait, how are we the same age and you have all of these things? But I always remind myself, what you see is not always the truth. Most of the time it's not. So don't be fooled by that and don't feel like you need to go into debt to keep up with that lifestyle. Be very clear on what you can afford and what you can afford comfortably, because life has a crazy way of things happening, and maybe you can afford something now, but you don't know the future. You don't know if you get laid off or you have an injury and you have more medical debt or all these things. So many things can happen. Do not go into debt on something thinking you can afford it because you don't know. Like, you really don't know. You have to think very logically, very clearly. And something that helps with this is actually seeing a financial advisor. Talk to a professional. There are professionals that do this as their full-time job. They will consult with you. They will help you. They will give you practical advice on how you can invest your money, where your money should be, how to save more, where to put your money, and they will show you where. Trust me, it is not as intimidating as it sounds. I always thought that a financial advisor was like for crypto and for stocks and for high risk. And it's really not that at all. Of course, you can get into that with them, but for me, that wasn't my goal. And I didn't do any of that. I have a nice little investment retirement plan, and I've only been in it for a year and I've already seen the growth. And it's because I went to a professional. I definitely recommend doing that at any age. If you haven't already, you definitely should. Obviously, the earlier is better, but the first best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, but the second best time is right now. And that's the same way with your money. So go start that, get a retirement plan, set yourself up for long term, because honestly, overall, all of this advice leads down to that, the long-term plan. Yes, these material things, these Amazon purchases, sure, they might make you feel great short-term right now in this moment. They might make you look successful. They might make you look and feel significant and important around your friends and your colleagues and people you're trying to impress. But long-term, none of it's gonna matter. First of all, if you're not setting yourself up financially long-term, you're not gonna feel great when you retire from your job and you don't have anything to show for it. That's not gonna feel good. And also, you can't take any of it with you. You cannot take any of your financial stuff with you when this life is over. So to prioritize it and spend all 80, 90 years of your life worried about how much money is in your bank doesn't really make much sense. Of course, set yourself up so that you don't have to stress so much about money, but the amount of money you have does not change your mindset, because I know people that make lots of money every single year that have the same fixed mindset from when they were poor when it was 25 years ago. It doesn't matter your salary number if your mindset kind of sucks about money. You know that saying, more money, more problems? That is so true. The biggest, highest celebrities who have the most money in the world are not necessarily happy. It does not solve your problems. It does not fix anything. And if you're spending your life thinking, one day my life is going to change because I'm going to make it and I'm going to have all this money, it doesn't correlate. The amount of money you have does not make you happier, does not make you prettier, does not make you better, does not make you more successful. You can't take any of it with you. And if that's what you're searching and that's what you're seeking, it's not going to work. You're always going to be left unsatisfied. Or you can do the complete opposite. And of course, work hard. Make sure that you're set up. Make sure that you're secure financially. But don't make it your 100% focus. When you have that mindset that money is all that matters, people feel that. People see that. And we can get spiritual about it if we want. People see right through that. People know who's transactional and who's transformational. That's kind of cheesy to say, but it's so true. Like, we all know people that are in it just for the transaction of it, just to say we did something, just to say we have something. And then we know the people that are really there for the right reasons. And those reasons are never about money. Even if you have the most money or the least money, there are so many other things to value and focus on in life outside of money. And I've already said it. Of course, we need money to survive, and that's not the point of this episode. The point is your mindset about it. And if that's your only focus, it's kind of a greedy focus. And I promise you, your life will be so much more fulfilling and so much more purposeful if your focus is on those other things that you can take with you. Your memories, your experiences, your relationships, what you actually did to contribute to the world, the things that you gave, the things that you did, all of that comes back to you. Money is just a material thing. But the way you make people feel, the things you do in your life, that's what people remember. That's what people talk about when all of this is over. They're not talking about, oh, she had the best Range Rover. Who cares? No. Especially if your personality was trash, no one's going to remember your Range Rover. They're going to talk about how you made people feel. And hopefully it's a good thing. So just remember that. I know it's easy to get caught up in the finances. It's easy to get comparing to people and worrying about your salary and the number in your account. But there are so many other things to value too. And yeah, I really hope that you liked this episode. I know it's a little different. I know people get a little uncomfortable talking about money, but I felt really called to do this, especially after what I said at the beginning of the episode, where I went to church and we were talking about it. I just feel like it gave me like a refresh and a reminder that no, this is what matters. And I felt like I needed to share it. So thank you so much for listening. Share it with a friend if it resonated with you or someone that you think needs to hear this. And share it on Instagram and tag me at CassCamp or at Nerdy and Flirty Pod. And I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you and bye.